In today's video, I walk you through Dragon's Rest files as well as a quick painting tutorial on the floor tiles for my Dragon's Rest HeroQuest board. But before we get into that, just wanted to share what the GGGGs are for this month. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts, and for this month of December of 2021, we have the printed and painted Druid's Palace as part of Rise of the Halflings Kickstarter from Printable Scenery. We have 3 all-in pledges from Zone Quantum Tempest, and for the $100 going towards a crowdfunder, Patreon supporters did choose to either have the Ancient Blood, the Order of the Vampire Hunters crowdfunder that's happening right now, or winner can choose to receive the Barnes & Noble exclusives Fireteam and Bladeborn from Warhammer. So for those of you who are outside of the United States, this is an opportunity that you might be chosen to receive these US exclusives. If you want to find out more information, go ahead and use the links below to go to my Patreon page where you can get all of the details and sign up for a chance to be chosen. I also have videos highlighting the first 2 GGGGs, so go ahead and check out some of my videos. A number of you have asked for a painting tutorial on how I painted up the floors for my HeroQuest board. This is part of a whole series of videos highlighting my build, and with the delivery of the 2021 reprint of HeroQuest, I did a recent video as well showing the gameplay using the app. Make sure to check out that playlist here if you want to see those videos. Ian from Dragon's Rest did recently update his Dropbox folder where you get all the files, and I know that it can be a little bit confusing to navigate, so this is an update from part 3 where I did walk through all of the options. Make sure you see that video because most of that is still relevant. But I am going to walk you through on how to get these files. Again, you don't purchase these files directly like you do with his sci-fi stuff. Instead, you gain access to these files by becoming a $6 a month Patreon supporter for Dragon's Rest. And again, links in the descriptions below if you're interested in that. You get tons of fantasy files. It's the best $6 that you're going to spend on any Patreon supporter, and it will give you everything that you need to print out the HeroQuest board and more. I did come out with modified files where I glued a lot of these pieces together so that you can print them out. Since then, Ian has come out with a couple iterations and a couple of different options for what kind of files that you want to create for a HeroQuest board or for a dungeon board, and I'll walk you through some of those options as well. But make sure to check out my part 3 video from this series, and that's going to outline sort of the pros and cons of each of the different systems that he has available for you. As a Patreon supporter, you're going to have access to all of them. And because I like to magnetize, I still would choose this thicker form because you can insert magnets in all of this rather than pegging things together. And with my modified files that is in the Gaming Geek folder, these are the files that you're going to be able to print out. So that's the first part of the video, is I'm going to walk you through the Dropbox folder so that you know where to grab all of these files and where they're located. And then the second part of the video is the painting tutorial. Now, I don't go through all of these tiles. I just show you an example of how I painted them, which is super easy and quick using this primer and then a number of craft paints that you see here. But it will give you a relatively good sense on how to go about painting these tiles. Use the timestamps below if you want to skip ahead to that section. Otherwise, let's go ahead and dive in to the computer and see how to grab some of these files. All right, so go ahead and use the link below to go to this page, the Dragon's Rest Patreon page. Sign up to become a supporter to support Ian's files. And what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down here, and this is actually not the code. This is just a graphic, so don't worry. But right underneath here, and I'm not going to show it publicly, is the code that you're going to need, and copy and paste it, and then follow the link to the Dropbox that he has set up. Once you get to the Dropbox page, go ahead and paste, and each month that code changes. So here you're going to see a list of all of the available files that you're going to get. So as I mentioned, it's super cheap to get all these files. You're going to get files for Curse City, you're going to get the pre-built, you're going to get miniatures. There's a dungeon arena board that's super awesome. There's an Ori, there's docks, so all kinds of stuff is going to be available for you here. Now, before we go into the main folder, I do want to take you to the Guild of Understanding first. And you're going to find all of the bookcases and furniture that you see in my video. So here you're going to have available everything that was intended to create a library. And this is where I grabbed some of the bookshelves. This was the scholars table that I used. So some of the furniture you're going to find here. And then if you go to the dungeon set, this is where you're going to find all of the pieces that you're going to need in order to build the HeroQuest board. So you're going to have the variety of floor tiles. Unfortunately, he has pictures of all of the floors that are going to be available for you. So utilize these pictures if you're trying to figure out which of the floors are represented by what. So you're going to want to download most of these floors because you're going to use those. Now, this is only necessary if you're printing out individual tiles, because let's go back to the main menu. And if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, look at the community remix and go ahead and click here. And then you can go to Gaming Geek. This is my folder of the files that I took from Ian, and I created my own. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of any of these files, so you're just going to have to download everything and then take a look at them. But the Apothecary combined are the floor tiles that you're going to need for all of the hallways. And this is where you're going to find these pieces that I already fused together, so that you can print these at your convenience rather than needing to fuse them, or if you don't want just one by ones. So these are all glued together and will print together just for ease. And these are going to be all of the borders and all of the hallways in the center. And then the rest of this are the pieces that are all connected together. And so this shows you these are 3x3s, 1x2s, 5x5s. So whatever size that you want that are glued together, or go ahead and if you want the replicated HeroQuest boards that I made, they're all going to be found in here. And I did include a map that is labeling each one of the rooms. So each one of these rooms is going to print out all as one piece. I do want to make a quick note that the centerpiece here is a little bit large for most of Creality printers, so like the Ender 3 or the Ender 5. So you do need to slice off or cut it in half and print them out individually. They do fit on the Prusa print bed, but it doesn't fit on the Creality machines. Again, you do have two alternatives to this. There is a pre-built that Ian came out with, which I think is a really good option, especially if you don't want to magnetize the floors. If you are making a dedicated HeroQuest board, you really don't need to print out the thicker pieces. So here you're going to see the fixed board, which is basically all of this. And these are printed out in sections, so it's going to fit your print bed. And really, this is ideal if you don't ever plan on using this board except for just HeroQuest. But a better option and more flexible option is this new board that he just came out with. And that is this pre-built floor tiles. And the advantage of this is there are walls on every single side of each of the rooms. So you can use these rooms separately for other dungeon crawlers, other games. So this is going to provide a lot of flexibility, and you can magnetize it because they're thick enough that the boards can magnetize to each other and not just the walls. So that's one option. And right now, the files for this is going to be downloaded into this folder, but because he just came out with it this month, these files are actually located right here under New Files. So once you're in New Files, go ahead and click on Dungeon Set, and then you can click on the floor tiles here. And that's going to give you each individual room, like so. In addition, he has the pre-built hallway tiles right here, like so. Some of you did ask where to find the stairs, and again, go to the dungeon set, go to utilities, and it is found here, dungeon stairs. So take your time and explore, because there's a lot of things going on, a lot of other files that are available. So just look around and you will eventually find the pieces that you need. In case there's a file that you cannot find, go ahead and make a comment in the descriptions below and I will be able to guide you to the correct file path. Now let's go ahead and move on to the painting tutorial. All right, the first thing you want to do is to spray everything with primer, and you can use either this 2x Ultra Cover Rust-Oleum Ultra Matte, and this is Slate, or the Chalky Finish from Krylon, which is what I've used with my set. The Krylon one is a little bit darker than the Ultra Matte Slate, so it really is up to you. You can test and see. The Krylon is more expensive, about twice the cost at about $7.50, whereas the Rust-Oleum is $4 at Walmart. So it really depends on what color you like. But with my set, I ended up using the Krylon, and basically you want to prime all of your pieces just like this with this dark gray. If you don't have either of those brands, just pick the darkest gray that you can, and you can see that all of these are primed with that dark gray. So no matter what color you're painting onto your floor tiles, the dark gray, I feel like, holds all of the pieces together because it's going to match some of the floors as well as the wall pieces, because I prime all of my wall pieces in the same primer. So that's how I just simplify the priming process, just by using the same primer regardless of what color the floor tile is. You can do that differently. For example, for the wooden pieces, you can opt just to go with a dark brown if you want, like in some of my videos where I show you how to paint up some buildings. But I do feel like having this dark gray tie all of the floor pieces together really works well, and at the end of the day it's just going to be faster doing it this way. So here I have printed out some of the samples, and I do apologize because I didn't write down exactly the colors that I used, but it really doesn't matter if you use the exact same colors as I have. And in fact, the board, if you look at the HeroQuest board, the original one, it's flexible enough that you can paint them whatever color that you want. There is no gameplay value to these colors being specific, so there's no reference to them at all. So you can color them any color that you like. I did follow as closely as possible what was on the HeroQuest board, but of course, because of the limitations that I have with the different paints, I just, in some cases just chose whatever colors that I had. So even here, with these two different kinds of green, obviously this is more of a leaf green or a grass green, and this is more of an olive or sage. So use whatever colors. The nice thing about these craft paints is that they're so cheap. It's about $1 a bottle, maybe $1.25. I bought these from Hobby Lobby, or you can get them from Michael's, and especially when they go on sale, oftentimes they are 30% off or something like that. They can be $1 a bottle. So these are super cheap compared to your miniature paints, so you can grab as many as you like. So I'm not going to be able to reference every single tile that I have, but this is just to give you a general direction for painting them the way that you've seen my board. Also, here's an example of the brushes that I use. These are hog's hair brushes. They're stiff and used to paint oil paints and acrylics. You can buy a pack of these relatively cheaply, again at Hobby Lobby or at a craft store. I do have these regular sable brushes, but because of the surface area is a lot bigger, I do tend to use these brushes, but you can use these. These are fine as well. I just can paint a lot quicker with these bigger brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did this tile. And basically I'm going to be grabbing my Georgia clay and then my True Red. And I'm just going to paint across like this, making sure that I don't get any of the paint down into the cracks and crevices. So see how by using the hog's hair brush, it prevents the paint from going all the way deep down inside, and my paintbrush is relatively dry. It's not very wet. So all you do is just drag the paint across like this, and even here I'm leaving some of the deeper spots gray, and that just provides some natural shading. And that's pretty much what you do with the entire board. And as you can see here, this is a little bit lighter, but that's because it's wet right now. It'll dry to be a little bit darker. And then once it's dry, my demo, I'm not waiting for it to dry. I'm going to grab my red, and this time I'm just using a regular sable brush, and I'm going to pick out some random stones and basically color them in like this. Now let's go ahead and do this one as well. And because the undercoat isn't dry yet, the colors are mixing a little bit, so the red isn't as bright. You won't run into that if you paint after it dries. But even here you see that there is two tones, and overall that will give you an effect like this. So that's pretty much it. I mean, not very difficult, not very hard. The trick is just to go over all of the squares, and you can do another coat if you want it to be a little bit brighter. But overall, I was pretty happy with how this tile set turned out. And this is basically the technique that you use for all of the tiles, obviously with different colors. So let me go ahead and show you another tile where I'm going to lighten it up to do some highlighting with a lighter color. So I'm grabbing myself some espresso, which is a brown, type of brown, and then I'm going to lighten it up with fawn. You can use white instead if you want. Usually with my browns, I like to lighten it with beige just because it isn't so stark with the white. But either way will work. So let's go ahead and grab this tile, and I'm going to use the espresso first. And in the same way that we did with the other tile, I'm just going to go ahead and just color this entire thing. Again, being careful not to get the paint into the crevices or the cracks, because I want that to remain this color, this dark gray color. So basically go around at it like this and get a nice coat. And this time I am going to wait a little bit for it to dry, because when I dry brush it, I don't want the paint sort of smearing together. Okay, now that this is mostly dry, I'm going to start mixing some of my fawn in with the espresso to slowly lighten it up. And this is really a judgment call. And then take off most of the paint from your brush so that your brush isn't wet. And then I'm going to just carefully just drag it across like this and start the process of lightening up the color a little bit at a time. And based off of like how light you want it to be, you can do successive layers. So as you saw there, I twist it around just because I'm mostly pulling the brush and I want to get it at various angles. That's why I am rotating it around like that. So that looks good as an intermediate color. And then I'm going to go ahead and add again more fawn to lighten it up another level. And a lot of this is just, hit or miss. You're just trying to guess at what colors are going to be good. And then here with the lighter color, I'm putting less of it on than I did the intermediate. And in fact, the effect might be a little bit too subtle to even notice that much. But that is pretty much what you're going for. You could, let me just show you, since this is just a sample piece, what it looks like if you go really light with the color. And with each successive tone, you don't need as much paint. You just want to do just a little bit like that. So that's basically what it looks like. And that's how I got this effect for this board. You can see that I highlighted, and again, it's relatively easy. And with my brush, I do get it on the edges right here. I don't know if you can see that. And you don't have to be 100%, avoiding that edge, since walls are going on top of that. It really doesn't matter. But that's how you can do this board really quickly that way. And then here we have a couple other boards that are various shades of brown. I think I used burnt sienna on this Again, successively layering it with lighter and lighter by putting the fawn and mixing it with the burnt sienna. Again, I'm not 100% sure if this is the paint. And then with this one, I used milk chocolate, and then finally successively lightening it up again and just dry brushing over it. So this is where you can just get a variety of different browns when you go to the store, and it gives you, as you can see here, 3 different brown colors. And that's the case with all of the colors. So here you see different kinds of greens that you can get. So pick whatever colors that you want out of the craft store just to provide yourself a little bit of variety. But I'm using the same technique here. I used grass green and put down a layer and then successively added fawn to it to dry brush and make it a little bit lighter. Here I just put 1 layer on these tiles, didn't even highlight or didn't even dry brush at all, a second layer, but on these ones I did. So it's really all up to you in terms of what kinds of effects that you want to achieve. I couldn't remember what color this is. It might be Rookwood Red, although when I look at it, I just don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Let's go ahead and try it out and see. Alright, is this the same? No, see, this isn't the same color. So I actually have no idea which red I used. But again, as you can see here, it really doesn't matter. And then once these are done drying, you can go ahead and again either add white, but again I like to use beige, and lighten it up to create this pinkish color. Well, it looks more like flesh. And relatively easy just to put a layer like this on, like so. See? So the key is to not put a solid layer of paint down. You want gradation because most floors, it'll look too cartoony if you don't create some gradation. And I think I added white and put more in the centers of these squares here. And then once that's all done, then I go over this with browns and lighter browns successively, as you can see there. So again, really quick to do it this way. So there you go. Hopefully this video fills in some of the gaps that weren't present in my previous videos. And a number of you who did ask for tutorials on how to paint this, hopefully this is enough information. And again, it doesn't really matter if you get the colors exactly the same. Just grab the ones that you like and you can paint them up however way that you want. Again, go to my Patreon page if you want to get in on the GGGGs. Otherwise, Happy New Year, happy gaming. We'll see you next time.